Many songs, which are still used to this day, were composed during the Civil War as soldiers sought to escape the difficulties and horrors caused by it. The Civil War has been one of the deadliest American wars. Drew Faust from the National Park Service reports that the Civil War was so costly that the number of deaths was approximately equal to the total of American fatalities in the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Mexican War, the Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, and the Korean War combined. 2% of the U.S. population would die during the Civil War, which would account to 6 million people today. Many of those who did survive became amputees and were thus disabled. Amid these difficulties and horrors of war, and the lull and boredom of camp life, it is natural for soldiers to find ways to escape the atrocities and entertain themselves. Songs created or sung by soldiers during the Civil War, many of which are still sung today, often reflected the conditions and differing beliefs of the soldiers on either side of the war. Some songs, such as John Brown's Body, for instance, had a different meaning depending on which side was using it. As the title of the song suggests, the original lyrics spoke about John Brown, a famous anti-slavery Northerner who, with the help of 21 others, raided a federal arsenal at Harper's Ferry in an attempt to arm slaves. Both the Union and Confederate soldiers had their own versions of John Brown's Body, one praising the so-called heroic death of John Brown after his actions at Harper's Ferry, and the other vilifying him, respectively. For instance, the Union's version of the song went as follows. In the first line, John Brown's body lies moldering in the grave, was repeated 3 times and then followed by, his soul's marching on. Subsequent verses had the same pattern with lines such as, he's gone to be a soldier in the army of our Lord, they were hanging Jeff Davis to a tree, and now 3 rousing cheers for the Union. Later in the war, John Brown's Body implied greater Union success when the lyrics were switched to the words of Julia Ward Howe's poem, The Battle Hymn of the Republic, and retitled as such. This new version, taken from Howe's poem, highlighted the feelings many in the Union had that they were involved in a glorious cause. The lyrics spoke of Christ trampling out the wicked and sifting out the hearts of men before his judgment seat, seeming to allude to the idea that the Civil War was a glorious yet apocalyptic war. One of the most powerful lines in the song is one of the last, in which Howe, further alluding to the idea that the Civil War was a godly war for freedom, writes, "As he died to make men holy, let us die to make men free." The Battle Hymn of the Republic has proven to become quite popular, as it is sung to this day by many Christians, activists, and football teams, among many other groups. Similar to John Brown's Body, Battle Cry of Freedom, composed by George F. Root, had both a Union version and a Confederate version. Although Battle Cry of Freedom was composed in a single day in response to Lincoln's call for 300,000 more volunteers, Root's song became very popular during the Civil War. His song became so popular, in fact, that the printing presses had trouble keeping up with printing enough copies of it, since between 500,000 and 700,000 copies were printed. The popularity of his song did not stop in the Union. The Confederate Army, too, latched onto his song and made their own version, taking out the positive allusions to the Union. The song may have risen to the popularity it had because of the rallying nature of it that seemed to raise the troops' morale, with words appropriate for the time. Root's musical success did not end with Battle Cry for Freedom. He went on to compose many other popular songs during the Civil War, such as Just Before the Battle, Dear Mother, and Tramp, Tramp, Tramp. As the Battle Hymn of the Republic was like an unofficial anthem for the North, so was I Wish I Was in Dixieland to the South. Originating in the North as a minstrel song, this catchy and controversial song was soon adopted by the South, where it was sung widespread. As the North and South had unofficial anthems, the 5th and final verse of the modern national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, was written. Unlike the previous verses, the final verse, written during the Civil War, speaks of a foe from within, even using the word traitor. Just as speeches have been used to motivate, inspire, or inform soldiers and communities who participated in the conflict, so too did the songs of the Civil War. These songs, which reflected the ideas and beliefs of the soldiers during the war, were so influential that some were sung on both sides of the war. Many of these songs are still sung to this day, showing the widespread impact they had.